Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Tea Time with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 1st of May 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this afternoon session. Wednesday's afternoon session, of course. As always, we're going to have a look at the markets, a few of the charts, some of them that we've looked at this morning, just to see how they're getting along, and a few new ones as well. And a few old ones as well, so just to see what's happening. So basically, long story short, we're going to have a look at the charts, but before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, so now then, let's quickly jump into the charts. Now, the first one I want to touch on here is Ethereum. Now, I looked at this one this week, and basically what I was saying, that we were waiting for that nice pop above the 158 level in order to kind of consider higher levels. So we did have that nice move here. You can see it did pop to the upside. Of course, initially kind of flirted a little bit, but then yep, the bulls kind of drove it above the 158, and they managed to reach the area near the 163 zone, from which the crypto kind of retraced back down. So it's currently kind of balancing around this 158 level again, from testing it from above. Let's see if it actually we can continue to hold the price from dropping lower this 158 level. If it does that, then yep, that's wonderful. We could see another leg of buying here. Certainly at this point, we are somewhat more bullish than bearish, but given that we did have this little retracement already, so we're going to be very cautious here. We need to see a nice reversal here back to the upside, and then maybe, let's say, a move above the 100 EMA here, shown as the green line on the 4-hour chart. This way, we could potentially then target slightly higher areas, and by higher areas I mean the levels like near the 168, or even actually this aiming for this downside resistance line taken from the highest point of April, and this little short-term tentative downside resistance line could be that nice target as well. But again, long story short, guys, all right now is all focus is on this 158. We want to see if it continues to hold. If it continues to hold, and that's wonderful for the bulls. We could see, like I said, this one traveling back up here. If it fails to withhold now, this is where it could become a little bit tricky. Of course, we could start looking at some lower areas. The only thing is that for better confirmation, probably wait until we see a drop below the 156 zone, approximately there, guys. You can see that it acted as a good area of support here, or should I say the intraday swing low here on the 30th of April, which is yesterday, and basically a break below this could then lead towards maybe a retest of this 150 level, the psychological 150. So for now, basically that's the game plan. Let me just kind of drag this arrow here for just to kind of put it here for our future reference. This is basically all in regards to the short term, from the short term perspective. I mean, for now, that's where we're looking at this one, looking only at from the short term perspective, because it would be difficult to kind of, let's say, to predict where exactly does it want to go, because if you look at the bigger picture, it kind of is trying to push higher. Some could say maybe it is forming higher lows, but again, let's be very careful with this one, and let's wait and see what it wants to do with the 158 level. If it wants to hold on above this, then yep, that's wonderful. We could see more buying activity kicking in here. Jumping into a few pairs now. So AUDUSD, I wanted to quickly show you this one, just to show you what's happening here right now from the very short-term perspective. So as you can see already, I've marked it here. The pair is stuck here between these two levels, roughly between the 0.7030 on the downside and the 0.60 on the upside. 0.7060 on the upside. Yep. it is basically this little 30 pip range here that we've got. So we are waiting for this pair, for the Aussie dollar, to exit it. So either through the upper side here or through the lower side. For now, we're going to stay neutral. We're going to wait for that break. But ideally, what we'd like to see here is a 4-hour candle closing either above the 0.7060 level or below. If we see a nice good close above this, then a further move higher and a push above this 50 EMA here on the, as shown as the red line, could bring the rate a little bit higher here towards the 0.7085, or even actually we could then target the 0.71 level, which is not far from this 200 EMA here on the 4-hour chart. But that's what's in regards to the upside, and the upside we'll consider that only if we see a push above the 0.7060 level. In terms of the downside here, let's say if we get a break below the 0.7030 zone, approximately here, again, similar story here as with the upside. We need to see a close of the 4-hour candle below this level, and only then we'll consider a possible move lower. And by possible move lower, I mean at least towards the psychological 0.70 level. We're not going to drag it too much to the downside yet, because we want to see how it's going to perform near this very important level, the 0.70 level, and then we'll take it from there. If it wants to break below that's wonderful. We could maybe see further declines here, but again, let's keep it short and simple. For now, the 0.7030 is the level, the one that we're going to be watching on the downside, and on the upside is the 0.7060. Excuse me, Euro Ruble. I've talked about this one as well recently, and just wanted to show you what's happening here. So basically now it's performing quite nicely. So it is pushing higher. It's now kind of in the profit territory here. It is pushing towards this 200 EMA here, and it's already there. And the big question here is, are we going to actually see a further move higher here? If we do, if we see the 4-hour candle staying above this 200 EMA, then that's wonderful for the bulls. We could see a further acceleration to the upside here. Our target here, of course, is a very high one, near the 75.10 level, but a slightly more realistic target could be here near the 73.86 zone, 86, 87, something like that, approximately there, guys. So for now, keep your eyes on this one. Even if it, let's say, retraces back down, what you could do here is keep an eye on this little tentative upside support line. Basically, if it continues to hold, that's good news for the buyers. We could see more of them kind of just stepping in here and potentially driving this one higher. But if this upside support line fails to withhold, well, I mean, we could consider a move lower, but we'll at this area will be a little bit more on the cautious side. So for now, it is looking more positive. It continues to travel higher. Let's see if it actually can stay above the 200 EMA here on the 4-hour chart. Jumping into euro dollar, very interesting situation here. Basically, it's a bit of a tricky one. So this morning we were still trading below this this 1.1228 zone that I was talking about. So it pushed higher, it managed to travel higher, but you can see that now it's selling off and it's trying to push back below the 1.1228 zone. Of course, for now, this is a bit of a tricky one, even though it is still kind of near this 112.28. We are somewhat more positive on this one because it could still travel towards this 200 EMA, given the fact that it's not very far from it. So it could eventually test this 200 EMA, but if that is too much for the pair to overcome, it may retrace back down again. So but of course, that's in the situation if we see a nice push away to the upside from this 1.1228. For now, this is where the pair is sitting, so this is where we're going to be a little bit more on the neutral side. If we see another drop lower here, we'll still remain cautious here, because for us, in order to consider lower areas, we need to see a drop below the 1.1175 zone, and only then we'll consider much lower areas. For now, this little territory for us is going to be a little bit of a neutral one. So keep your eyes on the 1.1228. If we see another push away from it to the upside, then we could consider the 200 EMA as the next potential target. GBPNZD, very quickly on this one. So good performance so far. It managed to push away from this upside support line taken from the lows of February this year. So it's having a nice run here. It's looking strong, and it's clearing now. It's trying to, well, it's breaking right now the 1.9655 zone, which acted as a good area of resistance previously here. And let me just show you where it was. That was near the highs of the basically near the highest point of November, so of 2018, of course. So keep your eyes on this level here. If we see the a close here above this of the 4-hour candle, we see a close above this 1.9655. Of course, there could be more chances for this one to travel higher. The only problem what I see here is the fact that it's quite overextended here on the 4-hour chart. So in a way, a bit of correction could be possible. So what we could do here, what we could see here is maybe we could see a bit of correction back down, and maybe testing this little area of resistance, which previously acted as a good area of resistance. Now it could be seen as a good area of support near the 1.9620. Even if let's say if it travels a little bit lower, the last resort probably for the bulls to step in could be this little area here near the 1.9540 zone, 42, 45, something like that. So this could be that little last resort for, like I said, for the bulls to step in and potentially drive the pair back up again. But again, for now, from the short-term perspective, you can see that, yeah, it is trying to push higher. It could continue traveling higher, given the fact that it's already breaking this key area of resistance near the 1.9655. We do have the R2, which is around the 1.9695. Very important, good level here. Just slightly below the 1.97. We could see maybe this one traveling a little bit higher here, hitting the R2, and then potentially retracing back down and doing something like this, basically. So for now, this could be an idea, but again, from the very short-term perspective, keep your eyes on this little area of resistance, potential resistance near the R2, which is around the 1.9695. We could see, like I said, this one traveling a little bit higher, but then it could do a bit of correction here to the downside. And if it does something like that, then we will be aiming here for the 1.9620 zone as the first potential good area of support. So in terms of the downside, well, we would need to see a drop below the 1.954240 zone before we could consider maybe further declines here, at least up until we reach this upside support line. So for now, guys, that's the game plan. It is looking strong. It could continue traveling further up here, but again, don't forget that at some point in time we will have this little correction back down, and it could be near this R2. Jumping into USDJPY, now this one is a bit of a tricky one as well, because it's stuck here. Basically, it's stuck below the 200 EMA, but it's struggling to get below the 111.25 zone. So it's struggling to close that 4-hour candle below this key area of support. We will continue observing that level. This is going to be for us that gateway towards lower areas. If we see a close of the 4-hour candle below the 111.25, then the next area for us to consider will be around the 110.80, which is near the lows of the 10th of April. So for now, guys, that's the situation. We are going to be very cautious on this one. It is difficult to predict exactly where it wants to travel to, certainly given the fact that it's currently below the pivot and it's below the 200 EMA. It does have probably more chances to move a little bit lower, but then again, we're not going to speculate on this one too much. We'll wait for that confirmation break. If we do see a break and a close of the 4-hour candle below this 111.25, then that's great. We could consider further declines towards the 110.80 zone. If we do see a push back above the 200 EMA, back above the pivot, and back above the 111.50, this is where it could become a little bit more exciting for the bulls, as this could open the path back towards the 111.90 or even the 111.15. So keep your eyes on this one. And last pair I wanted to quickly touch on here is the USDCHF. Certainly it's not looking quite good. So basically it's now sitting near its key area of support here near the 1.0160 level. That's going to be the one very important one for us to watch. As you can see that it did break this level a few times, but kind of struggling to close below it. So if we do see it close below that level, then, well, to be honest, it increases the chances for USDCHF to travel all the way here back down towards this upside support line, this tentative upside support line that could play out nicely, could maybe even hold the rate from dropping lower. But for now, from the very short-term perspective, of course, it is where it is right now. It is stuck near this 1.0160 level. For us, in order to consider higher levels on this one, well, ideally we would like to see a push back above this little area here. Let me just zoom in here. This little area near the 1.0198 level, but again, you could in a way round it up towards the 1.02. So if we do see a nice good push above that, that's great news for the bulls. We could see more of them joining in here and potentially driving the pair back up here towards these recent highs, these last week's highs near the, let me just put this one on the chart, near the 1.0238 level. So keep your eyes on this one, good potential target, but only if we're gonna see a push back above the 1.02 level. So in other words, let me quickly just mark this for our future reference so that we would know what we were aiming for when we're going to look at this pair again. So basically that's what I'm talking about. So we need to see a nice good pop above this 1.02 level in order to kind of consider higher areas. And in terms of the downside, the only thing is that the upside is for now, the upside could be slightly off the table, because as you can see by the move here, it is currently testing this 1.0160 zone. We need to see that nice good close below that area, and then we will target slightly lower levels like the 1.0125 or even the 1.0110 zone, or even actually this, like I said, this upside support line. So it's a very big gap here that we've got, very big distance between the pair and this upside between the rate and this upside support line. So in a way, we could see this little move here filling up this area here, and yep, testing this upside support line. But again, need to see that nice little close here of the 4-hour candle below this 1.0160 level. Okay guys, I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching and listening, and if you want to join me tomorrow morning at my Traders Espresso, and that's as always 6 o'clock GMT time. But for now, I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.